Let's bring in Hustler on that. Andrew Paterson from Winnipeg Sports Talk. There he is. We had some connection issues. How you doing, Hustler?
I'm doing very well, Rod. Great to see you and talk to you again as always. Nice shirt, by the way.
Love it. Team issued. Workout gear from the ice. I love it. I'd wear their stuff every day if I could. Andrew, they're all tuned in for our take on the CFL news today, that they're officially delaying the season, and August 5th is the kickoff date and a December Grey Cup. What's your read on the announcement today?
Well, I mean, listen, we can debate whether it was overdue. I think everyone knew that some sort of announcement like this was coming forward. I mean, read the room, everybody. The virus is a disaster in a lot of areas in this country right now, and it's not realistic to be getting going with the season. Not to mention, the elephant in the room is, when are we going to be able to have fans in the building? The CFL is a gate-driven league. They have more than any of the other leagues. That's why they didn't play last year. They need fans in. So we're not in a good place right now. Hopefully we can get these vax shots ramped up in some of the places that really need it, get things down. But listen, Rod, I was expecting that we would hear that things were going to be delayed. I guess I'm happy they're still shooting for 14 games. How realistic that is, I guess we'll find out. But, just some clarity, I guess, particularly for players and people involved in the league, never mind the fans, about a target date to get this on. I guess it's important information, but like so many things in this time we're living in, a lot of it is out of the control of the people that wish they would have it. They're
doing all that they can do, and for that I applaud them. It wasn't just a straight camps are delayed, here's what we're shooting for now. But I'm getting a lot of calls from CFL people with interesting things that they're saying, Andrew. And one is that Winnipeg, Edmonton to Saskatchewan, they're not worried about. They know that there will always be Bombers, Riders, whatever Edmonton's going to call themselves. But they're saying it's the owners in the big markets that are calling the shots on the CFL right now. And I'm wondering if there's any buzz in your world about the fact that they aren't playing in a bubble or empty stadiums, that they won't bite the bullet and pay the money. That's disappointing to me, right? This still depends on fans in the stands, and that's the part I don't like.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, that's the business model. I mean, until someone rolls in with a fat check that says, we'll finance this, apparently there hasn't been the wherewithal. I mean, I don't have the financial details of all the ownership of the Canadian Football League. We know some of the community-owned groups are, do okay, but have had big-time losses. And as far as the privately owned teams, there hasn't been the want or the wherewithal or ability to finance this. So, I mean, it's a real difficult situation for the Canadian Football League. And I'll be honest, I know Randy Ambrosie's taken a lot of heat. I think that he is doing everything he can to navigate through an incredibly perilous time for the Canadian Football League. And right now, this announcement of a delay and a target August 5th is, unfortunately, I guess the best case scenario right now for the Canadian Football League. I'm with you. I mean, I would love to see the games take place, even if there aren't fans. But, unfortunately, Rod, we kind of went through this last year. It doesn't seem financially feasible right now. There's no one willing to cut the check. And it's professional football. And these guys aren't going to come and do it on a volunteer basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, column in the Winnipeg Free Press today questioning the courage of Randy Ambrosie. I thought, well, this is going a little far. This is getting personal. I don't think that's very professional of them to do, but you can see the passion people have for this, right? James in Borden, Manitoba says, I hate that everyone craps on the CFL, yet they have no control of this virus. No fans, no play. But that's the thing. Are they a big league with the money, or are they not a big? They're in the middle. That's my thing. The lower leagues are playing. They're finding a way. The dub, obviously, right? CEBL and so forth. The big leagues are playing. It's the middle ones that are getting squished. The middle class getting squished. That's a pandemic thing. Andrew, any more on the CFL XFL merger? Have you thought any more about that, or is your brain full of Jets talk and don't have time to think about that?
Yeah, well, no, listen, I mean, hey, here in Winnipeg, Rod, I don't need to tell you. I mean, the CFL is absolutely front of mind. I mean, we're focusing on the Jets and an exciting run to the playoffs and big game with the Maple Leafs tomorrow night. But I mean, every day we talk about the Canadian Football League and the latest situation. And the bottom line is there hasn't really been much to say other than that it's a really unfortunate and scary situation, I think, for people that love the Canadian Football League. As far as the talks with the XFL, I mean, I've told you this before. I mean, hey, best case scenario, we would maintain the CFL as we know it. Yeah, like we'd get a 10th team and grow, but that's just not where we're at right now. I really do believe that there's a massive potential with the growth of sports betting, the legalization of single game wagering in many United States and coming to Canada soon, that if you moved the season up to, as soon as you could after NFL ends and get it through the summer, I don't really think competing. I know people have always said, oh, you're going to go up against the Stanley Cup playoffs. Listen, if the Jets are in the Cup final and the Bombers are playing, yeah, that would be an issue. But for the most part, I don't really think, to be honest, with football fans, I think it's more competing against the NFL and the weather once you get into the late part of the season. So, I mean, I really do think that with some changes, there is the possibility of making it far more financially viable. And obviously a big part of that would be television, expanding it outside of Canada. So I kind of understand what I think the dream scenario for some of the people that are pushing for this are. Like, would I prefer it to be as it is? Yeah. But I think we found out, unfortunately, the hard way, Rod, that the status quo just isn't going to work for the Canadian Football League. And I think everyone behind the scenes are trying to find a way to, preserve professional football first and foremost, if it can't be exactly as we remember the good old 3-down game for the last 100 years.
Yes, and what's disappointing to me is the inability or reluctance to be creative, to pivot, to find a way to get onto the field. I'm sorry, somebody explained to me why they can't, because it's been 13 months. On Twitter, the account @BeneathSports writes in and says, it's upsetting. CFL ownership isn't broken. Yes, they would lose money, but it would save the league. I question if they love football. Meanwhile, a football guy's written me from the States here who's watching the show on Game Plus says there is money somewhere. The coaches, personnel, and office staff are all being paid. The players are the ones getting screwed in this deal. And I don't think he's looking for an answer from you and me, Andrew. He's just putting it out there, right? Like there's money somewhere. It's just being selectively spent. Any more on this before we move on to hockey?
Well, I mean, listen, I really empathize with the players. I mean, the careers are short. You've got a limited amount of time to, earn a paycheck playing professional football. And, a season's been lost and, a chunk of this one looks to be lost as well. But at the same time, I mean, I don't really know what the answer is. Well, I think we got the answer right now. Everything's paused. And, as much as it sucks for the players, I'm not sure that it's a lot different than people that were working in the airline industry or in hospitality. This pandemic has, affected so many different industries, and certain parts of those industries were the first people to really get hurt. And unfortunately, when it comes to professional football here in Canada, it's the players of the CFL that have really borne the brunt of this so far.
Again, you involve viewers on your show just like we do. That's the secret sauce. Paul Shanks, a viewer, says it's not the CFL, it's the federal government that's putting a halt on football season because of the numbers of COVID cases are still too high. Meanwhile, Jimmy on Twitter says, with more than enough vaccinations given out by then, there is zero reason not to have stadiums at almost full capacity. None, unless there are other motives by the Trudeau government, which wouldn't surprise me. Trudeau's not trying to bring down the CFL. MLSE might be. Who's more powerful, Justin Trudeau or Larry Tannenbaum? That's the question to me. And the other thing is, if we're in a race against vaccinations, we're out here. We're out. You know that drive-through clinic you texted me about? Yeah. There's no more vaccines in this town, Andrew. That's why I'm like, why are we relying on this? Why is the CFL on its knees at the mercy of a virus when the other leagues are not? What is the vaccination situation? And when I see Munsey's fully vaccinated, yet I don't think you have a shot yet. Have you?
No, I don't. This week we were in a bad spot. I mean, I think we were the worst province except for Nova Scotia going into this week. And they were sitting on a ton of this AZ stock. And they opened it up to 40 plus people this week. And it sounds like there's been a big take up of people that'll be going to get their shots this week if they haven't already. So certainly that is good. But to your point, there just hasn't been enough stock right now to do what we need to do. And unfortunately, it's having a real bad effect on a number of different industries. But for our focus here, the Canadian Football League. And I mean, I guess the last texter, the second texter you just brought in, I think nailed it. Even if some white knight rolled in with $100 million and said, we're playing this year in the Canadian Football League, and that's only part of the story, Rod. The other part is the fact that right now, I mean, the government, travel, all of these things are shut down. So all we can do is hope that, we continue moving in the right direction, ramp up vaccinations, get in a better spot to actually have fans in the building, and hopefully in the summer get CFL players back here and get this 14-game season underway, whatever happens beyond 2021 for the Canadian Football League.
Yes, 3 major hurdles I've said to get on the field: COVID, money, and does every team even want to play? And with the news today, I don't think we're any ahead on any of those. That's my thing. 2 minutes, they tell me in my ear, we have on Winnipeg Jets talk. They're excited, man. Winnipeg going. How far are they going in the playoffs, do you think?
Well, we'll see. I mean, the funny thing is, Rod, it's looking like, barring Winnipeg or Edmonton catching Toronto, as much as the Leafs goaltending is trying to keep those teams in, it could very well be Winnipeg, Edmonton in the first round. What a treat that would be for hockey fans. I mean, the Oilers are the one team that the Jets haven't had a ton of success against. I believe they've got a winning record against everybody else except for Edmonton. And, they didn't have a great game coming off the road on Saturday night. We can chalk that up. The bottom line is they're going to need to figure out how to generate a little bit more offense and beat Mike Smith and do a bit better of a job, as difficult as it sounds, to limit the chances for Connor McDavid. But overall, hey, they've got one of the best goalies in the league. They got a real deep forward group, a defense that, while has been maligned, I think maybe a little bit unfairly at times. I mean, Paul Maurice is going to have to get those 5-man units, doing a better job of eliminating high danger chances, especially for the elite players on the Oilers. But overall, with nothing else going on around here, Rod, and the announcement of the CFL, all sports fans are pretty much all in on the Winnipeg Jets. And it's going to be fun. 11 more games to go. They'll still try to catch that North Division banner. And I was saying to the guys on the show yesterday, I mean, you don't go into the United Center in Chicago and stare at the Central Division banners. You look at the Stanley Cup banners. But I'll tell you what, this North Division banner this year, one time only, will be maybe the most meaningful division banner the NHL has ever given out to the Canadian team that, finishes on top of the North, the strange year where the Canadian teams were going head to head. So it could go down. The Leafs and Jets were supposed to play 3 times this week. One of those games has been moved to the end of the regular season. So dream scenario, that might be for the North Division title and home ice in the playoffs, but Jets have some work to do before getting to that point.
It's been so much fun to watch. Hustler, we'll let you get ready for your show, 1 p.m. Central. Thank you, my man, for the time.
Hey, my pleasure. And Jets fans, check it out today. Nikolai Ehlers of the Winnipeg Jets coming on the program today. Looking forward to that.
Woohoo! Winnipeg Sports Talk. Search for it on YouTube. See you, Hustler.
Later, Roddy.
We got viewer takeover coming up next, plus a sports update. You're watching the RP Show on Game Plus TV Network, YouTube and Facebook Live, and 24/7 Sports Talk for Suds Full Service Car Wash at rodpedersen.com. Listen live.
You're watching Rod Pedersen on demand. For more of the Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.